Purchased items in Enterprise Manager begin life as requests. Users will be able to make requests for items without being able to actually send off a purchase order. A new request can be created by clicking on the New Goods Request button in the upper corner of the Purchase Orders module. This opens the Purchase Order Item Editor. There are many required fields, shown in red. First, we have to select the location we're purchasing for. If you know a job number, you can simply type it in. If you don't know it, you can click on the lookup button and find it that way. Similarly, for the vendor code, if you know the code, you can simply type it in. Otherwise, we'll click on the lookup button to bring up a lookup window. We can right-click on the search results down here, and we can pin these to a list of favorites so that if you have vendors that you frequently use, they're always available. Otherwise, we can search. Clicking on a vendor gives the details of that vendor and a list of activities for that vendor, including all open purchase orders. Here we could also attach files and documents. If we're ordering by a SKU, we can type it in if we know what it is, or we can click on here to open up a list of a catalog of items. But you don't have to order by SKU. We're going to put in our quantity, and in any field in Enterprise Manager that's numeric, you can enter math and it will resolve as the pop-up shows. So here I could type 75 divided by 3 and it will resolve to 25. We have to select our unit of measure. We enter our cost. Again, we could type math. If you're ordering an item that has a multiple price break, you can enter the price breaks here and it will calculate the final effective price for you. Item number is a field we didn't have in QuickBooks. This will be the vendor's item number. Description is an English description of the item. You can see here it's offering me a drop down full of all of the defined parameters for this job. Also, as I'm typing, if I start typing one of these, you'll see it start to narrow down on what it is. I can use these, I'll call these auto text. We can use this auto text, and while it will display to us as the auto text value, it will show to the vendor as whatever the completed value is for that. Internal description is purely for our own purposes. It will be displayed to the receiving user. If I check this notify me, I'll get an email and a hot note when the item is actually received. Again, down here, if you knew a GL account that you wanted to assign this item to, you could type it in, or we could click on here as a lookup. We're using material or item numbers from QuickBooks currently for our GL accounts. So, for example, this one is the accounting code materials, which we've always used for per job materials. Without putting anything in, it'll show me what the effective material will be here. The system is set up, the effective GL account will be here. The system is set up so that each purchase doesn't have to have it specified. It will look first to whether the SKU has a mandatory account. So if we create an install SKU, we can have that always go to an install item number in QuickBooks, or eventually a GL account. And then it will look to the vendor, so we can have a vendor have a required item number or GL account. And then it will look to the job. We can have a job have a required GL account or item number. And last, it will look to the system that has a default of materials. If I suspend this request, it will stop anyone from ordering it until it is unsuspended. So we'll go ahead and save and new. And you'll see it left some fields pre-populated because often you're ordering for the same job and in the same quantity repeatedly. So in this case, we're going to add another item. If I hit the enter key, it's the same as save and new. And I can add 5. And then we can change what job we're ordering for. And you can see down here we have a list of all the items that are on request for this vendor. When I'm done, I hit the save button, or I could just close the save and new. The list of items that have been requested is accessed from the requested items button. And you'll see here it's defaulted to my location, which is Des Moines. It's showing me Hold All Company has $62 of estimated total, and that's because we didn't supply costs for many of these. So I can edit these items, and we can supply costs for them. If we had previously ordered an item with the same description ever, it would use that as an estimated value, and it would tell you the estimated total including that. Or if the SKU has historical data. We can change to view all locations, and we can see what Emmitsburg has on order. So Emmitsburg has $2,400 estimated for Oharco and $3,819 for Sunderland Brothers. These are important because we can tell the system what our prepaid minimum is, and we can stop people from placing orders that don't meet it unless they have a certain level of authority. And also we can have the system automatically place orders for us that meet minimums. In our case, I assign these all to Hold All. If I right click on the vendor, I could edit the vendor from here. This is something we'll do later. I could issue my purchase order, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I can also change all items to a different vendor. So we're going to assign all these to our test vendor. And I'm going to pin this to my favorites so it's always available. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to issue this purchase order. So in this case, these items could have been requested over the course of a week by different people. Yet we can put them all on one purchase order to minimize our freight costs. Issuing a purchase order, we can select where we're shipping to. Facility was the automatic choice, and you'll see I can edit the field here if I wanted it to have an attention to. This was pre-populated based on the location that these were set for, which is Des Moines. If I issue a purchase order for Emmitsburg, these are pre-populated with Emmitsburg. The vendor instructions were populated from the vendor's default, but we could add additional ones. I can leave some of these items as in the requested state and not add them to this purchase order. And you'll see that it's reduced the dollar amount here. It's giving me an estimate of what the current items are worth. If I know what the freight, crating, tax, or other are going to be, I can specify them. Otherwise, if I leave them blank, they're not specified. In this case, we're going to say we expect $15 of freight. And we expect nothing else. We don't know anything else. The method of transmitting, if we had a fax number in there, we could have the server automatically fax it. We can select from the email addresses that have been added. Method of payment, we could create more, but the only one we have currently is open account. And when I hit issue purchase order, it's going to add those items onto the next available purchase order number, which is 19. And you'll see when I click on purchase order 19, we can see our note, we can see the payment method, where it's shipping to, and the fact that we have $612 of expected cost and no actual costs that have occurred yet. You'll also see right down here under activities that it's pending transmission via email. And if I click on it again, I can right click and I could actually cancel the transmission before it has occurred. And you'll see I have just received purchase order number 19. There's a delay of about maybe 60 seconds from Des Moines for the transmission because it has to, it comes out of Emmitsburg, and so it takes time to get up there. Emmitsburg would have less of a delay. This is the actual emailed purchase order that's come to me, because I am set up as the vendor. So you'll see it's got a ship to with our address, our phone, our fax, date issued, PO number. It would have the vendor's account number here. And you'll see line items, descriptions, costs, our PO notes. We can edit this however we'd like. You'll see it's updated now. When we click on this purchase order, from now on, you'll see a history that Jonah Coleman auto-transmitted via email, and a copy of the actual purchase order, which we can open and view if we wish. And that's it. When you hit the back button, it refreshes. There's nothing requested for Des Moines any longer. And we're done. The purchase order has been automatically sent to the vendor.